Hi, it's Sandra. I know it's only the 1st of August today, but it's going to be a Christmas card day. This wasn't quite deliberate. I was going to do a particular type of card and it turned into a Christmas card. So, well, what can I say? You know, you can never be too prepared, huh? So, this particular card is another interactive card. I seem to be on a roll with these recently, and as the inspiration is taking me, I am just going to make the videos, so I hope you're not sick of them by now. So I've cut out the various pieces that I need for my card and I'm going to explain them. Obviously we have the base of the card, and in this particular case it's going to be an easel type card. And I have the card front, which is this particular piece, and I have the back piece, which looks decidedly peculiar. It looks as though it's got a burnt chocolate chip cookie on it, but it's not. It's a Christmas pudding. And I have this thing, which almost looks like you should be holding it up to your face and looking through at some kind of party or something, but that's not what it's for either. So don't worry, I'm not completely off track. What happens is that this little piece here goes onto this one, and that goes in like so. This piece goes on top of that, and then when you pull, you get the custard or the sauce going over the pudding. So that's the general idea. Now, this one works in a slightly different way to the other ones that I've shown you because of this little gizmo, but it does make it quite easy to make the card. Now, I've put some text on here already. Now, what I did was I created the text and I penned it using my silver bullet. So I just put a pen in the blade holder and I did it that way. And then I went over it with a pen, just a normal black narrow tip pen, one of these things, because I wanted sort of like a gold halo effect around it, but I wanted it to show up more than gold would. So the gold is in the back of it, and then I just wrote over the top with a black pen. And I've got the other part of the sentiment as a cutout. So one part is on the front of the card directly, and this one is going to be put on the front. I have in the file, which I will link, I have this shape here for doing the stencil work basically, or the, what would you call it? Just a guide, I suppose. So that for those of you who can't actually draw ovals easily for a plate, you've got a little guide and you just draw around the outside of that. Now I've coloured mine in already with markers, and I've just put it in sort of pale blues, greys to look a bit like a glass plate. Nothing very fancy. This bit here I coloured in again with markers, but in the file what I've done is I've taken everything except this piece. I've actually done as a print and cut, so you can actually just print it and cut it and do it that way if you don't want to do any painting at all. So how does the card go together? Well, it's so simple. This particular piece, what I've done on the back of here is I've actually gone and stuck a coffee stirrer. I used a plastic coffee stirrer because I didn't have any wooden lolly sticks that are this shape. The ones I've got are like sort of figure 8 type ones. They're fat and chunky, they won't fit. But I've put that on there just to add a little bit of support, and I used a silicone glue to do that. You could use a strong tape, I guess, to stick it on, or you could use some other type of glue, but I happen to have silicone and that's what I've used. Now I've also put 2 very tiny little bits of sticky tape either side of this slot, and I've just done that to give it some extra strength, because that is going to come under a little bit of force and I didn't want these edges to suddenly tear away. So what we need to do now is to put a little bit of glue, or you could even just use staples, and close this up. So in order to check where my glue needs to go. If you center it over the card here, you can see that you've got about 1/2 centimetre on either side that is free. So you want to make sure that your glue doesn't go any further in than that. And it doesn't have to be very much glue, so just a little bit on the outer edges. And again, I'm using some silicone glue. You could use a double-sided tape, but I've got the glue out, I might as well use it. And then just fold it over. Now you might be able to see, I don't know if you can see, but if you can possibly see it on camera, I've actually coloured in this bit as well. Although it was creamy colour to start with, I've just put a little bit of added colour into it. Not a lot, but just a little bit there. So now what you want to make sure that you do is that you thread the handle behind this panel. That's why you do it, because you want to slot this over this piece of card, and the handle will be at the back, and the card will slide down like so, and it comes to a natural stop because the cut line finishes just there. So that can go up and down quite happily, and you can keep it out of the way of the actual pudding. Now we need to put some kind of stopper in there to stop it going up any further, and the obvious choice is some foam tape. Now I think I can just about squeeze that foam tape in there, I think. It's got a little bit of an edge on that where I trimmed it earlier for something else. I'm just going to take that little bit off if I can. Stuff is always really sticky when you don't want it to be. It sticks to your fingers. Okay, and I'm going to put it all the way across the top like so, making sure not to overhang the edge of the card. There we go, that's on there. So now if I push that, it won't go any further, but it can come down. It can't go any further up. Okay, so when this is down like so, what you need to do is put some more double-sided tape down the side. And if you can, you want to do it so that it's in one strip. Make sure you got this centered as well as you possibly can. And if necessary, you can use a set square to make sure that it is actually square and flush to where it should be. So I'm going to cut this in half because it's a little bit too wide to put down otherwise. And that just fits there just nicely. And that bit will go there. So now you can see when that's actually put together and that's held onto the front, it should still move up and down if we've got it right. This one is actually moving slightly side to side at the moment. Yeah, I think it would be fine once the card is actually stuck together. It's not having it stuck that is the actual problem. So I'm just going to fill in some more pieces with the foam, and then the back can go on the front. Now this one I'm just going to put a larger piece in. Just need to check that's not going to interfere. Let's pull this down. No, that's fine. It won't interfere with that. I think I'm going to have to take that off and put a slightly narrower strip on. Let's cut it down a bit more. I'd rather cut down the strip now than find when I've put the card together it's too wide and it won't move. That would be extremely annoying. Now I've cut this out of watercolour paper because it's the thickest I have. It's something like 300 GSM. So it's quite a thick, quite a nice solid, effectively card. I may call it paper, but it's more like cardboard really. There we go. And another piece down there. There we go. I'm going to put that in the bin before it gets stuck to something I don't want it to get stuck to, because it probably would, knowing my luck. Right, okay, I'm going to leave you for a moment while I put this card front on, because I know what happens if I try and do it under the camera. Be back in a moment. Okay, I've got the front of the card put together now, and if you turn it over, I've put a couple of little sticky pads just here because I figured I quite like it with this one. If you just pull it down and wriggle it from side to side, it's sort of a little more like the sauce flowing over the pudding. So I quite like that. So in order not to restrict it just to going straight down, I've just put these here so it stops it a little bit. Now the thing I have discovered is that I did put my stick in slightly the wrong place. I should have actually put it a little bit further up. So if you're going to use a stir stick or something like that, put it a little bit further up onto the main backing piece rather than just on this actual handle piece. Okay, so that bit is pretty much done, and I just need some more double-sided foam tape to mount this onto my basic card base. And I'm just going to cut a piece that is about the right length, and then hopefully cut this in half because I don't need the full width of it. It's just really quite difficult to cut because it's so sticky. There we go. So that will do just there, and this piece can go just here. I added that little bit of foam there thinking that it will just strengthen that area just a little bit because I didn't put the stick in exactly the right spot. But you can learn from my mistakes and you can get it correct the first time round. Obviously I'm not going to remove the backing from that piece. That would really mess things up if I did that. That would not be clever. So let's take this off. And we can attach it to the front. And if I'm really brave, I'll actually do that while I'm on camera. It's either brave or sheer foolishness, one or the other. Okay, let's stand up to do this. And that will do. Okay, I'm happy. Right, so now I want to put my little and Christmas pudding sentiment on there. So take a piece of foam and cut that down ever so slightly. There we go. And make sure I put it out the right way. It'll be very clever to put it the wrong way around. I'm going to put it just there. Quite happy with that. And now I need to put on my holly and the berries. Now mine I coloured in markers, but you know, you could colour them in all sorts of things. You could even do some heat embossing on them and make them all nice and shiny, or you could coat them with something like glossy accents afterwards if you were inclined to do that. So I will again use this particular silicone glue just because it's here. Whoops, top's dried up. It does dry quite rapidly. So put one of those there. Then I'm going to put a leaf on the top of it, like so. And then I want to actually have one of these berries raised, so I'm going to put a tiny bit of foam underneath. So if I can take the back off. And I think I'll put another piece of foam underneath this leaf. I'll put that one like so, and then another little berry on the top there. So that looks quite cute, I think. And the only other things that I want to do is use a gold pen, and I'm just going to put a couple of holly leaf shapes around in a couple of spots. You don't have to be wonderful artists to do a few holly leaves, and I think I'll do some just here, like so. And to finish it off, I have some bright red gems that I can put on with those holly leaves, like that. And sometimes it's a case of less is more. I think one each on there is perfectly adequate. So there we go, there's the finished card, and there's the sauce coming down on the Christmas pudding. Okay, I will link the file below. It will be provided in SVG format, and it will be also provided in SureCut slot format. Hi again, this is almost like my version of the outtakes reel. This is the mock-up that I made out of flimsy card to start with, and there's just a couple of things that I did want to point out which may not have been made plain in the video. All the sticking that I did inside with tape has been done with foam tape, not normal tape, not normal double-sided tape, but foam tape. Okay, so that's a really important thing. If you are going to reinforce this, do make sure that you take the reinforcing up to this level rather than do what I did, which is start it just on the handle. Okay, that will make life a lot easier when it comes to repeated use of the card. The other thing is, what I didn't show you the first time round is to position your actual drawing, but it is very easy, but I'll just go over it anyway. You line up the front piece and the back, and they're both the same size, so it's not really an issue. You can take the centerpiece that you originally cut out of that and put it back in, and then lift that away and draw a pencil line around it just as a guide. And you can use that if you're using the print and cut to just stick on there, or whether you're actually going to colour it in, but it will help make sure that you get it in the right position. This card base does not have to be limited to this Christmas pudding card. You could put a Christmas scene in here, for example, and you could have it up the other way, and you could have the curved lines coming up as snow after a snowfall. You could do it for other types of cards that are a little more risque, with things that appear under your normal image, for example. There's lots of different varieties that you can do, and you don't have to stick to it being a circle. It could be a square or an oblong or an oval shape. You just have to modify the file very slightly to do that, but it would be quite easy to change. Okay, thanks for watching, take care, and remember the file will be linked down below. Bye bye.